Okay, I'm gonna go through this whole VOD in just one shot. Well, not quite. I'll be pausing and playing a lot, but for the most part, I'm just gonna go through it all at once. Uh, so starting off, just when you're loading in, before we look at buys, I guess. Uh, what I like to do with support is try and figure out how I think each lane's gonna go. Sometimes when you don't know matchups, you just won't know. In which case, generally scrap it as a neutral lane, assume it'll go even, and then just adapt to it as it plays. Because especially in lower elo, the lane matchup doesn't matter nearly as much as just who happens to play better. But as far as what I would expect for these lanes, I'd expect Teemo to beat the Ornn. Uh, I'd expect Syndra should be able to push Twisted Fate in, I'd think, but she's probably not going to have any kill threat on him because he can just kind of wave clear it pretty safely. In jungle, these are both aggressive early junglers. And then in bot lane, you guys have a very strong poke lane. Jin's a good poke ADC, Janna's a enchanter. Well, they have a very good all-in lane. If Nautilus hits a hook, then Caitlyn's going to be able to hit a trap. So you want to be careful about trying to basically stop Nautilus from getting to do his full all-in combo using your tornadoes if you can. For team fights, you can see that your team is going to have Ornn in the front line, followed by Xin, and then you, Syndra, and Jhin in some grouping behind them, ideally. And on their side, they have Warwick, who's kind of looking to dive in, Nautilus, and then midline will be like Teemo and Twisted Fate, and in their very back line, they're going to have Caitlyn. So you guys are pretty heavily favored. Teemo doesn't really do anything for them in team fights, and Janna has very, very good disengage for if Warwick or Nautilus gets on top of one of the carries. So you'll be able to shield them, Monsoon to shove them off. You have very good coverage there, and then Xin Zhao and Syndra will both be able to crowd control along with Jhin and yourself. Even Ornn can get in on it if he has time to set up his Q. Basically, anybody who dives on you guys, you are able to pretty much stop. Looking at the runes across the board, they're pretty standard. You can take Comet or Summon Airy. Either one's fine, really. It's personal preference. Guardian is also a choice if you want to go more defensive. Just because if you have the Guardian, it's going to give you more effective shielding from an all-in. And then for your summoner spells, as support, you really have two big options. Kind of three. So your two main options are Ignite and Exhaust. Here you went for Ignite. Obviously, that's going to be the more aggressive option compared to Exhaust, which is much more defensive. I think it's fine here. I probably would have gone Exhaust, but I also just tend to play Enchanters very passively. So I think the Ignite's fine. It's just a personal choice sort of deal. The third option, by the way, is Heal. Sometimes your ADC will take Teleport or Shield, or the Exhaust themselves. They'll request that they want it, and then you'd pick up the Heal for them, just to make sure that they're okay in the lane. So I know it's a lot before we even actually get started, but we'll just let it play out now. Oh, and I'll pull this up. I think it's going to tell me what the enemy team buys, even though I don't really want it to. That's fine. Okay. So, yeah. So far, this is just what you'd want. You want to watch this bush to make sure that Nautilus doesn't just walk in and then take over control. Ideally, Jhin would go down over here, but he's not going to. That's not your fault. There's nothing you can do about that. It just means that there is a chance they could collapse on him. It's small. Most people will enter through where you're watching, so this is where you want to go as support generally. At least in our elo. I guess I don't know if the invade point changes in other ranks. Alright. And you can see that Zin's moving out here, so you're going to have to leash him. So you have two options. You can either ward this, or... yeah, I wouldn't ward it. You can come around this side to go to lane safely. Chances are you guys are probably just going to walk back through try. We'll see how it turns out. Jhin has a pretty short leash, but it's also pretty effective because his fourth shot is really strong for it. At least it feels that way when he leashes for me. Alright, so there's the fourth shot. And yeah, just something to be aware of here. Stay a little bit long, but... so you see Nautilus, so at this point, it's completely fine to go through try, but if Nautilus hadn't shown there, going through this try bush can be a little bit dangerous because Nautilus could all in on you guys, and that could be a problem, obviously. Uh, Caitlyn's missing, and she's very mad at Nautilus for taking the farm. That's whatever. Right here, I'd be really careful. If Nautilus throws his hook out here, you can see that Jin's pretty far away, and Caitlyn's pretty close to Nautilus. So you'd get pulled to about here. That's in Caitlyn's range, but Jin's not able to help you. So if Nautilus throws his hook out right here, you'd actually have to burn your flash. He doesn't, so that's fine. You'll just get the free poke. But it's just something to be really aware of, is with these all-in style laners, you want to be really careful as a squishy enchanter, putting yourself in range where they can hit a hook on you for free, because it can really quickly get bad, especially if you're ahead of your ADC. So same thing right here. This is actually out of range. His hook ends about here. But if he stays out here, then you're actually fine. This is a perfectly okay place to posture. But now it's a little scary, because he could loop around and go into this bush. We'll just turn on vision. He isn't cool. Yeah, and as long as you can see him, it's completely fine to be here. You're not in any threat. This is scary, though. I'll stop pointing this out from here, because basically I'll just explain it all right at this point. You can see that you're currently going to go and poke to get your stack, which it's good that you're getting your stacks, but you want to be careful about how you go about it. Because right now, if Nautilus throws his hook out and it catches you, you're going to be much closer to Caitlyn and Nautilus than Jin is to any of you. So if you do... His name's Ash Feet. So if you do get hooked, your best case scenario going to have to burn flash, and worst case scenario, they flash follow you and you might even die if Jin doesn't heal, or they might actually just have the damage. Oh, Nautilus started E. Well, that's super wrong. He should have started hook. Yeah, so now you guys hit level 2, and now is actually a time when you guys can get super aggressive. I assume you take Tornado here? I'm not actually sure about Janet's leveling. That might actually be wrong. Alright, looks like it is Tornado. And yeah, you have full control of this bush. You have the level 2. There's nothing they can do to threaten you. Good Tornado. I was probably going around this path. Awesome. And yeah, so benefit of the doubt that was intentional. If it was, that's awesome, because this trap right here is actually insane. Right now, you're going to be able to get your W off if Caitlyn steps up to auto you, and if she doesn't, she'll get hit by the Tornado, which lets you get your W off anyway. So you've actually frame trapped that Caitlyn, so she's guaranteed to get hit by something, and you even take the auto. You're making a lot of money right now off your stacks. That's really big. That's safe, because the Nautilus actually isn't very close right there. Yep, and that it's close, it's scary, but it's not going to be able to reach you. And here... Okay, I'll tell you what I think the correct play is, and then I'll say what I think you should do. I think you should do basically what you're doing here, just setting up passively and then backing off. Hopefully this is on this line. If it is, you can get a really nice little knock up here, and Caitlyn might actually die. Technically, Jin should have been moving up with you guys, since you still have the level 2 advantage on her, and this Nautilus isn't threatening you guys. You can set up a Tornado right here, and then walk on the path of the Tornado. I'm sorry, I know it's a lot all at once, but basically then, if Nautilus hits you with the hook, he'll get popped up by the Tornado, so you're safe. And if Nautilus doesn't hit you with the hook, you and Jin get to push Caitlyn back and just damage her for free. So he should flash auto, yeah, and then he trades flash heal. And now you guys are in control of the wave. Here you want to do a... Okay, so this is a waves, lane state thing. Here, you guys are just trying to get this wave in, but you kind of want it to build up first. As a Janna, you're not going to be able to shove it before this gets here, so you don't have to worry about trying to slow it down. You just want to send a Tornado straight through this to try and push the wave as fast as possible. Not to take any minions, but just to try and get the wave into the tower so that you can get out. So this is probably going to be going to poke them. It'd be better for you if it went through all the minions. And... Jin will throw that... Oh. Alright, and now with this wave crashing, you should back. Because I assume, with all the poking you've been doing, what's my hotkey? Yeah, you actually have 900 gold. You're doing really well. So at the 800 gold, you can buy the... It's not called a ruby crystal. Kindle gem? I think it's Kindle gem. The health item that gives you CDR. So if you backed right now, you could get a control ward, that Kindle gem, and you could even get a... what's it called? A scanner. But right now, you guys are actually in a lot of danger. Not a lot of danger. They're too low to actually fight you. But I'm assuming Warwick's about here. So we'll... Oh, okay. Warwick's top. So that's actually fine. So you guys are fine, but you don't know that basically, right? Like the problem there is that you don't know if Warwick's here, and if he is, then this could potentially become a scary situation. Not where you're in danger of dying, because again, these guys can't come in on you, but where you're in danger of getting a worse back. Yeah. So now, ideally, you guys would push this in and then back just to get a better window. You see Warwick on map now. Didn't want that to happen. So you guys know you're safe right now. And now you should back, because you're getting a little low on mana. Not particularly, but there's basically, you're not getting anything out of being up here, so it's better for you guys to just get out and reset the lane. You want to look for these chances to back where you can improve your in-lane power so that you can dominate even harder. That is certainly a bronze Jhin. He'll get the cannon at least. Alright. And so this is another window where you're looking to back. The tower shot doesn't actually matter. They still can't kill you. So you guys want to back right here. Okay, yeah. So that's a really easy problem to just fix in general. I'm going to do the same thing I did where I was telling you to be careful moving with Nautilus's hook. I'm going to stop mentioning that you should be backed right now because, and I'll just explain it all in once right here. So here, you guys are crashing the waves in, and you're able to get a plate. But you've actually had this plate for a while, and you're not anywhere close to getting a second plate, obviously. So if you'd taken the back when you crashed those first two stacked waves up, you and Jhin both could have bought items. Jhin had about 900, you had about 850-ish. I think it was 950, 850, but yeah. So you could have bought a Kindle Gem, which would have given you health and cooldown reduction. The cooldown reduction will let you poke in the lane more, and the health obviously just means you're safe from all-ins, or safer from all-ins from Nautilus. And Jhin could have actually just bought raw damage. I think he could have bought pickaxe with his gold. So you guys could have ended up with a pretty strong lane. The Nautilus is questionable. Oh, and Jhin just gets that shot. Okay. Yeah, so it's more or less a situation of never punished. Like, it's not correct to be staying in the lane here, but because the Caitlyn and Nautilus aren't getting any jungle assistance to help them get their back window, and they're just not taking a back window, they're already in able to defend these plates, it'll work out just fine. You do want to get one soon, though. Ideally, in lane, you're looking to back every 2 or 3 minutes or so, unless you're on some... Sometimes there's extensions that happen where it goes otherwise, but you want to be trying to make sure you're continuing to increase your power, so that if they don't take it back for a prolonged period of time, even if they're farming better or they get enough kills, it doesn't matter because you're the one that has the items. And something else you could do right here, actually, instead of backing, is you could roam. Janna has a very high base movement speed. You can see you're at 376, which is just ridiculous compared to Jin's 330. So what she's really, really good at doing is roaming around and getting good vision. Vision control and mid pressure. Some Jannas even roam all the way to top. That's generally done off when you're done, like after you back. You go top lane and then you run mid and then you run bot, but it's an option. There's not a ton you could do mid here against this Twisted Fate. Realistically, your Tristana's not even 6 yet, so it's not a big deal. There's not much you can do to help. It's really just looking for the back window, and I assume you guys probably do it after this cannon. Jin's getting a bit low on mana, so he's probably realizing at this point that he needs to get out of the lane. Now we can see their pings. So we have Twisted Fates coming down, and this is actually another thing that you'll want to pay attention to this with a few characters. Twisted Fate, Nocturne, Galio. Are those the only three? Those are the three main ones. So when they hit level 6, they are big roaming threats. All that really means is they could show up in your lane, and it's not your mid laner's fault that they didn't ping it. So we see that Twisted Fate hit level 6. So here, especially, you guys would want to back up because this... Currently, Nautilus and Jhin, or Nautilus and Caitlyn, even though they're down a level, and 25 CS, it's not a terribly uneven fight. Jin's a bit low on mana. It shouldn't become a big deal during the fight, but most importantly, Twisted Fate can be here at any time. He's probably right around this little curve on the minimap. We'll see if that's correct. Yeah, so he's right there on that curve. So Twisted Fate's about to come in. And Nautilus is going to move up to chase with him. It looks like Twisted Fate. Okay, so Nautilus is definitely showing aggression. And there you want to basically be thinking, okay, why would this Nautilus who's been getting shoved in and clapped the entire lane suddenly get really aggressive on me? Probably means that somebody's roaming on you. You see Twisted Fate back in mid lane now, so you're all good for that. Okay, and a quick little hook. It doesn't turn into anything. Yeah, you're just going to zone them back and make sure that Jhin is fine. So now that he's low on health too, he almost certainly leaves, right? Okay, cool. And you don't actually need to wait for your ADC to back yourself. If you're low on mana, if you have a good buy window, like when you had that 800 gold earlier, if there's a roam that you want to set up, if your laner just doesn't need you in the lane, then that's fine. If you want to set up vision, it's absolutely okay to leave your ADC. Just make sure they know. You would ping like, can I ping on this? No, I just slowed down the game. You would just ping like on my way to where you're going, ping caution on your own lane, and then go for it. You're all set there. Sometimes your laner will kind of run it down a little bit. That's not your fault, and that's an outlier. Xin Zhao shouldn't go for this kill right now. There's not much of a chance that anything happens. Yeah, and he just gets net. She kites back, and it's a complete waste of his time when he has camps up. He can farm. But for you right now, about this ward. You guys, so this is a defensive ward. It's a ward that you put up when blue tower is looking to be pressured, right? Because it lets you spot if Warwick's coming in for a dive, or if Warwick's trying to lap around behind you guys when you guys are here. Sometimes they'll go like this pathing to try and loop around you. Yeah, and it's a ward that red will place a lot. Red side will place a lot. They'll place it right here to watch the same thing. Watch for jungler coming around to assist. But because this is a defensive ward, it's actually not what you want to place here, because you and Jhin have been almost entirely on the offensive, right? So you're looking to place your control ward. Good job buying 2 controllers, by the way. That is definitely correct. You did want scanner, but that's more minor. You'll just want to get into the habit of buying scanner after you're back. So other places you could put this ward. With the Warwick, this isn't a particularly impactful ward. It's fine for like a yellow trinket or something, but generally you want your vision not to go here. This right here would be a really good place for the ward, because it watches if Warwick comes along this path. And there's a blast cone that spawns here. I don't know if it's up right now. Oh, that didn't help. Is it this button? How do I... Oh, Fog of War. So you can see this blast cone route. If you put the ward right here, you'll also be able to see the blast cone. So this is a good ward for if you're pushing on blue side. Even up here, just because it gives your laner some visibility for when they're getting ganked. But this, well, it's not a bad ward. It's a defensive ward. And so since you guys are aggressing, it's not quite what you're looking for right here. So this is probably pretty straightforward. You're just going to... Okay, you already shielded him. Awesome. And probably a kill. Kind of an accidental steal. It's not a big deal. It's fine. Oh, and it looks like you're actually going to go and get deep vision. Okay, awesome. One complaint about this. When you put the word here, it actually reveals almost nothing more than when you put the word right here, and it doesn't see as much of the blast plant. So I'd recommend just putting the word on this side of the bush instead of on this side. It's a minor thing. This is not a bad word. It actually does see a few like camp clears that you otherwise wouldn't see if they drag out this way, for example. But overall, I'd recommend putting the word on this side of that brush. But good to get the extended vision in, for sure. And now, what I would go for is I'd leave this dragon a little earlier than what I just noticed. I wasn't paying enough attention. That's my bad. But you can see that Twisted Fate is ridiculously far shoved up in mid. And he's actually lower on health than Syndra. So, yeah, okay. So that's because Syndra just used every ability. But that's okay. Because right now, you could actually just run mid, and Twisted Fate would lose. He'd have to lose it. It looks like she'll just double... She should heal right now to get the movement speed boost. Okay. They get it in the end. But yeah, so right there, because Janna doesn't offer a lot to helping Dragon takes, if you want to be looking at your minimap, and if you see Twisted Fate pushing up like that against your Syndra, absolutely just leave them alone at the Dragon and go see if you can help mid out. I don't know what Nautilus is doing, so I don't have advice to offer here. Really good Tornado. Really good Tornado. This game's kind of over now. 4K gold deficit at 9 minutes is pretty insurmountable. I just want to see a team fight or a situation where you have to use your ult, just so I can see if there's anything I can help with there. And we're not going to watch this full game. It looks like we're pretty much at the point where the game plays itself, and all you guys have to do is not make major mistakes, and you'll be able to win. Also, your Ornn's been winning the top lane matchup. You got some assistance, but like that's not supposed to happen, so that's always a good feeling for the support, knowing that it's another lane that you don't really have to dedicate yourself to. But also, right now, Jhin should be okay in bot lane. So you're... Alright, as I say that, Nautilus decides that he's ready to die. You were actually safe right there. So because you have Monsoon, and Shield, you didn't actually have to flash out of there, and you could have kind of separated Nautilus and Caitlyn, because you'll see Nautilus's hook is still on cooldown. Here, I'll just go through it one more time real quick. Just basically what I was... Or what... an alternate way you could be thinking about that when you watch this play. So you move up. Nautilus hits, like, his first actual hook. Your Tornado is great. It's going to disrupt Caitlyn. And at this point, Jhin should be shooting Caitlyn. He's shooting Nautilus. That's already wrong. So you know what? Actually, I changed my mind. Because Jhin is bad, I think that you might have made the right play. I don't think you need to flash out. I think you could just walked out. But I think not getting aggressive was correct if Jin's going to be doing what he's doing. And that's super weird. So you're probably just going to Monsoon right here, right? Yeah. And Jhin steps up for some reason, which makes him burn Flash. But yeah, so you get your Monsoon. Monsoon for TF ult is a fine trade. That's not a big deal. You could have gotten fancy when you saw that he was teleporting in, and I believe he was in range to hit him into tower. Wrong button. Is he come bot yet here? Yeah, he is. Come on. Yeah, you could have hit him into tower range, and it probably would have killed him. But that's just something to watch out for. When TF's setting up his little field telling you where he's going to go, just look for those chances to position people into tower. But other than that, I do think this game's over. We'll check the timeline to see if anything big happens. Looks like you get a kill here, so we'll check that out. Oh my. Oh, unlucky Ignite tick. You didn't even steal that. That was just Ignite taking the kill. Alright, yeah. And honestly, I think that's pretty much it. Overall, yeah, no, you're definitely playing well, especially for your level. It's just there's some macro things as far as like back timings and some micro things like you want to respect those all-ins. But overall, yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, alright. We'll go with that.